buddy. Dale Maxwell, Jason Sargent. Thanks for joining us. This is another investigation into all things KickASSery. I've known Jason Jason, how long has it been, brother?
15 years since we were both 4.
Yeah. It's been a while, man. And Jason, both Jason and I were in business back in Boise, Idaho, and now he's in Yukon, Oklahoma. I'm over here in Ohio. And it's amazing how technology keeps us all together. And it's so crazy how we reconnected when I lived in Oklahoma. When we were stationed in Oklahoma, we just kind of reconnected, and we did a little bit of business here and there, and mostly just kind of kept track of each other a little bit. And dude, I appreciate all those midnight phone calls and all those great talks, man. And I love the thing that I love, and then I'll let you kind of tell your spiel if you don't mind. I love how you have taken things from nothing and made them into something significant over your business lifetime. And this guy has an insane mind when it comes to numbers and formulas and crap like that. Walking calculator. It's insane. So Jason, real quick, what are you doing right now? What's your little short story where you're at right now? And then I just want to talk.
Right now, we own a sign and print company in Bethany, just west of Oklahoma City, doing print, doing apparel, doing a whole lot of signs and vehicles.
Nice.
I'm looking for other stuff to do.
There you go. And that's one of the things I love about you, man, is you want to talk about an awesome entrepreneur. Jason's always looking at options. He's always looking at opportunities. And the amazing thing on how his mind works is he doesn't get bogged down into the minutia of what's going on. He sees what it could be, where it's going, and the way his mind works with the numbers and all that is that he's able to put all that together very quickly and have great conversations. And dude, you and I have had great conversations over the years about different projects you've been doing, things that I've been doing. The difference is you've actually gone on and made things work. I'm still trying to figure shit out. So.
I don't know if either of those are true, but
so I want to touch bases real quick. Tell me a story, or tell me how you took an old oil change. What was it? Jiffy Lube or something. You took an old oil change.
Quick lube, yeah.
Yeah. And turned it into probably at that time one of the, if not the biggest sign shop car graphics company in Boise.
Yeah, I think we bought the right location. I think we bought it at the right time, just after September 11th. So nobody was buying anything at that point. And we put in an offer to Pennzoil Quick Lube at about a 20% of their build price for a building that was 9 months old. Made us super recognized in Boise. I still talk to some of the HP when I call for HP tech support. I go, oh, you remember the Intermountain signs that was there at Cloverdale and where were we? Overland and
Overland and
by the Walmart. They're like, oh yeah, I remember that. But we haven't been there for 11 years.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool that we created that legacy. We've got an employee from that place that went on to do amazing things and has since left his legacy there. So I think that's the coolest part about it, just the people that have moved on from it.
It's so weird driving past that and seeing it as a oil shop again.
Yeah. It
it's so wacky. You know, the year after they bought that and turned it back into, I don't even remember the name of it. I drove by and I was like, it was a shock to me, because you had been in there for how many years?
5 to 6.
Right. Yeah. And really where you and I connected was shortly after Ed and I started the cell phone shop. Yeah. And we had the free, you know, in hindsight is what it is. You know, we should have listened to a lot of the counseling that we got, but we got this ginormous space for our cell phone shop. And so we had all of this wall that were, Ed and I sat there and were like, what the hell are we going to do with this mall? It was ginormous.
Yeah.
And Ed, I think Ed's the one that reached out to you, and you printed the coverage maps for all of the different cell phone shops, the carriers that we had. We had Sprint, T-Mobile, Verizon, Cricket, and we just put them up there. And it was amazing. And you did some window graphics for us. And the thing that I remember the most is my roommate, Chad, worked for you for a long time.
Oh, I remember that too.
And you guys wrapped his little Ford, what was that called?
Probe.
Ford Probe.
How did I come up with that?
What's that?
How did I come up with that?
Ford Probe. And you did an entire wrap, the windows and everything, because he sold it. It was like a check cashing place or something.
Yep.
And it was a marketing thing. I mean, he got paid to do that. You guys all got paid to make that happen. And he drove that ugly thing for almost a year. And I remember because the side windows in the wintertime were, dude, they were a pain in the butt to scrape because of the perf material that was on it. Anyway, but it's so cool because I think about you a lot, man, and how you took an oil shop and made it. I mean, dude, you work with all the sports teams in town, and you're negotiating. That's one of the other piece I want to kind of touch on is your negotiating process, or not even the process, but because I remember you had box seats at the hockey games and the football games and the basketball games. And I remember one story, you invited me to your box seat at the Stampede, the basketball team.
Yeah.
Dude, you embarrassed the hell out of me. And I don't get embarrassed easy because you knew the refs. You personally knew all the refs. And I remember you sitting there right on the edge, right, like leaning over and talking mad junk to the refs the entire time. I'm like, dude, you're going to get us kicked out, man. You're going to get us kicked out.
Some of this was not a proud moment.
But how did you, going from a oil station to having these arrangements and these contracts where you got all of these side benefits?
We are in one of those industries where nobody wants to pay for anything. So if they have the opportunity to trade out, then, and we were blessed to be in a position where we could take those trade outs and still put food on the table. So so we got to enjoy life that way.
And you did an amazing job. And the thing that I hated about you, hate's a heavy word, I really struggle with you, is that because you're so good with numbers and you're able to walk in. I remember, my wife's printing something awesome. So I remember walking into some of these talks with you and just listening, and just your ability. You knew exactly what your costs were. You knew everything, and you could do the numbers on the fly, and you were so nonchalant about it. It was like, well, we could do it for this, this, and this, and we can give you this, and as long as you give this to us, we'll be fine. And afterwards, I'd ask you, I'm like, did you just lose your ass on this? And you're like, no, actually, I'm still at 50% this, and I'm still at this, and I'm still at that, you know? Yeah. Apparently my dog is saying hi to somebody at the door. And it's so impressive to watch guys like yourself who are able to do that.
Thank you.
You know, because I can't. I have to go, let me get back with you on that. And then I go and and try to figure it all out. So screw you.
I have never owned a cell phone store with a custom golf club fitter in
True. We were, it's so funny, looking back on it. And I talk to, whenever I go and take my cell phone in and I talk to these guys, these exclusive shops, because there's hardly any multi-carrier shops anymore. And because the main guys were trying to push us up, and I tell them, I was like, hey, listen, there were 7 carriers in our community and we carried 5 of them.
Yeah.
And that was before you had one charger would fit all phones. Every single phone had proprietary everything. And
I still have a bunch of those.
Right. you might want to let that go. Just say it, you know. And it was rough, man. It was fun. It was exciting, but it was hard. It was a hard biz. And yeah, you're right. We were renting out the backspace. We had an accountant and the custom golf shop, and then Brett Welty was also doing guitar lessons back then.
Yep.
And the whole point was rent the shop out. I mean, this place was giant. It was a wedding gown. It was a wedding facility, not a facility. They did tuxes and wedding dresses and all that stuff. That's what we had as a cell phone store.
They could have still been in there.
What's that?
They could have still been in there.
Yeah, and we could have all been fine, you know. So now it's what, a bookstore?
I don't know.
Or something, I think. Anyway. So, buddy, how you're always looking at opportunities, and when you're looking at opportunities in business, what's your formula? How do you look at new opportunities, knowing that you got to take care of your business at hand, and you're growing in a way that's very exciting? But when you're looking at opportunities, when you're like, okay, I'm done with this, I'm moving on to this. How do you work that out? How do you manage that? What's your process that you're looking at?
I'm looking at how long they've been established. I'm looking at what the numbers are. Are they able to finance it? How much of my own money do I need to stick in it? You know, how is the stability? You know, is it peaks and valley years? Is it steady climb? Is it steady decline? Where, you know, that steady decline one, you can probably tell that the owner of it has just gotten tired of it, found out that he doesn't know how to do some pieces, and not send him to somebody who does. So those are kind of some bits and pieces that I look for.
Okay, so are you also looking for industries that you're super interested in, that you want to be a part of, or are you looking at it specifically dollars and cents and taking yourself out of the equation?
Both. We are right now looking at something that just doesn't, I would tell you and you would go, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But you know, recession proof. Is it recession proof? I mean, that's the other thing. Oklahoma's heavy oil. We've diversified some, but we're still heavy oil. So are we catering to that business where we could be out in 6 months, or are we looking at those things that are pretty stable? You know, lawn care. Everybody's lawn's going to grow.
Right. Absolutely. And do you also look at the evergreen side of it, meaning that you don't have to have your hands on it? It's easier to be a absentee owner, or are you wanting your hands in it?
I'm wanting my hands in it enough to understand where we can better it. We'll stick with the landscaping analogy. I'm not going to know the turf management side of it. I may call my buddy Jeff and say, hey, Jeff, we're having an issue with so-and-so's lawn. What do we need to stick in the thing? Here, I'll take some pictures, tell you what we've been doing, soil samples. I don't want to be involved in that part of it. I just want to be involved in how can we get the employees to treat the customers better, and that's usually from treating the employees better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's a lot of that. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. Is you get your people on board, you get your people with that ownership mentality, you know, get them invested in it, and the management piece becomes a lot more simple.
Yeah,
it really does.
And that's us both hugely simplifying the process. But yeah,
it is. People are not simple.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why I've strived, and you and I have worked on it a little bit over the years. That's why I've really strived on trying to find a couple more of an evergreen kind of thing that takes the people out of the middle, and there's a gajillion opportunities now, and it takes that piece out, but it puts more of the responsibility on us.
Yes. Yep.
And so it depends on what you want to do. It really depends. I mean, if you want to be an absentee owner or if you want to be an owner operator.
Yeah.
Really depends on that.
Yeah.
And with that said, I got to give you kudos, man. One of the things that I've seen you doing, and you and I had a long conversation not too long ago about, is that, dude, you're jumping in and you're doing video in your marketing, and you're doing different things with your marketing. And I give you huge kudos for that. I really do, because you've jumped in and you've owned it. And even though our conversation was that you were super nervous and you absolutely did not want to do it, dude, you're kicking ass at it, man. You're doing a really good job.
Thank you. There's still plenty that I feel like, this is a disaster.
Slow-mo train wreck.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. The thing that I love about the live streaming part of marketing and the way consumers are consuming this marketing platform is that if we screw up, it's okay.
Yeah.
The live aspect of it. But as soon as it becomes canned and they can tell that it's edited, it better be good, And that's why I have really, over the last 2 years, I've gravitated more towards live, because I could screw up and be like, oops, moving on. And it just adds to the character. It adds to who we are. So I give you big kudos for jumping in 2 feet and making it happen, man.
Thank you.
So with that, being that you are brand new at that, what are some of your words of wisdom, or some of the things you've learned along? Now, granted, you've not been doing it for a week and a half, but what have you learned in this process?
Do it. Some are going to go good, some are not. Try and forget about the ones that don't go good. Not so easy to do. Right.
And you're 110% right, man. And I get a lot of flack from some of my buddies and some of my family where they're like, Dale, why don't you plan a little better? Why don't you take a little bit more time and figure this out? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. I probably should take a little bit more time. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I'm one of those, I'm going to figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
And, when it comes to like this whole thing, last week, I had 5 of these chats scheduled. I got 1 in.
Yeah.
Because I had tech issues, we had scheduling issues, we had life, and I'm like, well, oops, moving on. So, but all right, man. Well, I'm going to cut this. I've got some family stuff that I got to take care of as well. And I appreciate you. But before we go anywhere, man, I'd love to hear not specifics on where you're going, but kind of what do you want to be when you grow up? I mean, you've already shown multiple times over, because you and I, when it comes to business and business partners, I feel that we have a pretty similar history. You've been more successful in business than I have, but we've both had partnerships and businesses that failed in a miserable way, and it's easy to get jaded, and it's easy to get back shy, and it's easy to lose trust and have that self-worth driven down. So how did you go, and I'm not asking for you to tell details of what happened, but how did you dig yourself out? How did you go, okay, that really freaking sucked, but I'm still okay and I can move forward?
I'm not sure. I don't feel like I've dug out. It's just being willing to start over, I guess, and just say, hey, I don't know anything. Let's go learn what I can learn. One of the big thoughts I've had recently, especially here at Christmas time, is, I believe in Santa. Some days I am him. Some days he visits me. And just not knowing who you're going to run into that's going to have something for you, or who you can be that something for. So I guess that's how you dig out, is just having that hope in the future.
That's awesome, man. I love it. And for what it's worth, you know, looking from the outside looking in, I'm not in your shoes. But from my perspective, I've seen you go from okay to doing very well, and everything in between, you know, over the last 4, 5, 6 years, you know, and I'm super impressed. I always have been. I tell you that all the time, man. You kick ass. The thing that I really respect about our relationship is you're willing to tell me, you know, pull your head out of your ass. And, you know, that's,
I want you to be there to tell me that same thing.
Well, and here's what's so funny. And I'm not wanting to get super philosophical, but here's a struggle that I've been dealing with is I see you, and this is perspective, right? Perspective of where I'm at versus where you're at. I'm not in your shoes, right? And so this is the crap we deal with all the time.
Yeah.
Is we put other people up on pedestals. We put people outside of our reach, you know. The term that I've always used is you breathe a different air than I do, right? And those are all defeating things that I'm saying about myself. And these are all things that I'm working on. But the way I see you is you've pulled yourself out of these situations and you've made them work. You've learned, you've processed it, you've went through it, and you have the ability then to look at me and say, okay, here's what happened when this happened to me. Or here's how I perceive you right now, blah, 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 right? And for me to flip that around, I have a bad habit of not closing my mouth, not shutting my mouth. You know that. But at the same time, there's times when I have trepidation where I'm like, do I have the experience and the clout to tell the Jasons of the world what they should do? Does that make sense?
Sure.
You know, because I see you as a success. I don't see me as a success yet.
And that's the Facebook world as well. That's
Yeah.
the social media world of today is that edited. Everybody wants to be the edited video.
Right. And I've been doing this whole Dale's Daily thing for dang near 3 years. And it's scary as hell to put yourself out there. But what I've also learned is that when we are genuine, like you are, and we put ourselves out there in a positive way, then the people who are not going to be positive about the situation, in my experience, they haven't rolled around. And I think it's because I have people like yourself that keeps me humble, that keeps me straight, you know. So with all of this said, I appreciate you, man. I really, really do.
Thank you.
So with that said, brother, unless you have some other amazing tidbits to throw at us.
We'll save them for later.
Awesome. Well, and one thing I do want to do is I do want to have another one of these talks about your industry specifically and how we can use T-shirts and bannering and all that stuff in our marketing. So I do want to have more of a tech conversation with you after the first of the year.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Awesome, Jason. Brother, I appreciate you, man. Guys, jump over. Jason, when you get a chance, when we're finished with this, would you put your details in a comment below? I'd really appreciate that. Guys, check him out. Jason's a really good guy. He's doing the 12 Days of Christmas right now, where he and his company are going around and really bringing light to a lot of small businesses in his area, and he's giving away some really amazing things. So, dude, kudos to you on that. Guys, I'm also going to throw this little bomb. I'm working on a YouTube channel. So all of these videos we're going to have on a YouTube channel, so it's all archived and whatnot as well. And, yeah, so we keep working on this. What's that now?
I was not warned about this.
I don't warn people things. I'm just like, hey, you want to have a chat? And then I'm just going to throw them under the bus.
Okay.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man. If I don't talk to you beforehand, have a very Merry Christmas.
And
keep
you as
rocking out. All right. Just keep kicking ass, man.
Got it.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.